Okay. Hello.
Hey.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm Kymasi.
I'm Jonathan.
And we're just making a little podcast, a short thing. I don't know. I really didn't come in with an idea of what exactly we were going to talk about.
Yeah, we don't really have a name. We just kind of, this time actually just came up sporadically.
Yeah, we really didn't even plan doing it right now. We planned to do it on another day, but things just come in. As they come in, you got to take advantage of it. You don't always have the option to choose when you do things.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we just got out of breakfast. We didn't foresee that having this time to ourselves, but here we are. So we're going to take what we have and roll with it.
I think I don't know. I prefer it that way. I don't like when things are super planned out. Everything's always schedule by schedule by schedule. Even if you created the schedule, I still don't like it.
I mean, that's true, but like it also gives a sense of knowing where you are, I'd say. I mean, not to say that doing things completely out the book isn't anything bad, but having a little bit of structure I think it's quite helpful.
I think it's a matter of balance. Because, you definitely need structure. That is 100%. Like having no structure in your life, having no control. I don't even know if it's structure. I think it's more control.
True.
It's a matter of, do you feel like you're in control? I don't know. Having too much control, is that ever an issue?
I mean, too much control gets rid of variety, I'd say. Because if it all comes from your mind, there's nothing else to influence it.
No, that makes sense. I think, I don't know, do we crave having other things that we don't have control of? Is that like a thing that people want to have is, I don't know, I don't think it's not having control that people want. I think it's having something unexpected. Having something that you don't, I don't know, I feel like unexpected is a higher, that's the symptom. But the underlying cause of why we want unexpected is something else. I'm not sure.
Underlying cause.
Why is it that we like surprises? Why is it that we like variety? Because they say variety is the spice of life, but that's kind of a fact. That doesn't say anything about us specifically. Why is it that we want to have? Well, is it just like a thing we want? No real deep reason other than people just like having it.
It could just be like we like surprises, but it could also
There's got to be a reason though.
Yeah, because you think like the brain inherently wants to learn whether we want it or not. So you think of like a surprise, you don't see it coming. So I guess it's a new opportunity to learn.
Yeah, I think it might be a learning thing. I can see the connection because people always like to tie like human behavior back to the ancestral days when you're out hunter-gatherer and all that. And that makes sense. So learning as a human, I think is a very human thing to do, to learn.
Exactly.
I think that's most things with the brain. Maybe that's part of like why you would have one. But I don't know, humans enjoy learning. We like learning. When you're learning stuff that you love, you get so like absorbed into it and you just flow. It's quite enjoyable. Maybe I don't know, learning things. Yeah, when you have enough control that you feel like you can learn. Because when there's too much going on, I don't know, it's hard to learn from things. I mean, I guess you can constantly learn.
Yeah.
But when you don't have control, the pleasure of learning is outweighed by the fear of like your own safety.
Yeah, or it could be not even your own safety, just the fear of being able to focus in general, because it may not necessarily be a dangerous situation. It could just be all of us in study hall and suddenly everybody's yelling and you can't focus anymore because everyone's yelling, and either one, you think you're missing out. Two, so much noise you can't focus on it and nothing gets done.
I kind of like chaotic environments. Okay, so there's this dude. I say this dude like he's still alive. So
what?
No, it's a historical figure.
Okay.
It's not some guy that I knew who died.
Okay. Oh.
John von Neumann. When I first heard about John von Neumann, so he's this like mathematician, super smart guy. He worked on like physics and I think he worked on like the atom bomb or whatever. So he was from that age.
Yeah.
Around like Einstein. Anyways, man's was like the genius to end all geniuses. They say that he, like on the Wikipedia page, he could divide 2 8-digit numbers in his head instantaneously when he was 6. So take an 8-digit number divided by another 8-digit number. You could do that in his head just like that when he was 6 years old. So he was like a genius.
That doesn't make sense.
My man was the smartest. You read about the stuff he does and how smart he is, and I'm like, that's what?
And people don't know about this guy.
Is that humanly possible? I don't know. I feel like people. I mean, you would know about him if you knew about mathematicians. Like he's not a celebrity. Like I guess Einstein is a celebrity.
Yeah.
Whatever the case, he liked to work in very loud, chaotic environments. And I don't know. I think being in a chaotic environment takes a lot of energy away from your brain. Like when you have too much mental energy going on and you have too much like thinking space, you just need, like I focus well when I have distractions. Like when I have not too many distractions because I get distracted really easily.
Yeah.
But when I have stuff that's going on, unless I'm super focused, unless it's like a situation where I need to look and like really focus in, I need other stuff going on because it saps that extra energy from your brain. And then if you have too much power.
Well, what do you mean by those smaller distractions? Like that just barely take away that you can focus?
Like I need other stuff to go around to like all the background processes in my brain, they need to be doing something. If they're not doing anything, then I just have too much mental energy pent up. Like there'll be times when I'm studying, not anymore because we don't have any privacy ever in this program. We just we're never alone. It's kind of annoying. But
that's true.
When I would study, I'd be at home and I'd be studying alone. And I would just make so much noise. Like I'd be sitting there doing calculus, but I'd just be like talking to myself and just like yelling and screaming, just making just noises. Just because it just like it's like fidgeting, but with your brain.
Yeah.
And you just get rid of all that extra energy. Like I'll just be saying just nonsense and I'll just be talking. And I'm not paying attention to what I'm saying, but like it just gets rid of a lot of energy in my brain.
It's kind of different for me because normally my brain switches like over and over again because one day I'll come home and I'll be like, let's get some work done. And I won't be able to get work done till it's like 10 o'clock at night because I got distracted by one thing. And next thing you know, I'm watching a YouTube video about how to talk to a giraffe. But then other days I can put in music. Music's very weird for me because some days I'll put in music and I can like blow through a whole essay. But then if I do it again another day, I'll be able to get like 2 sentences done. Because music's kind of a weird road for me.
What do you mean? A weird road in studying or just in general?
In my brain, because usually people take a lot of music just to enjoy it and have like a good tune in their head. But usually like when I do it, the music's the only thing I can focus on. So
I understand that.
Yeah.
I definitely understand that.
So when you listen to music and you're trying to do work, it's like, I don't want to do this work because
when that chord hits.
Exactly.
I definitely understand.
Yeah.
I'm actually quite similar. When it comes to music, I cannot focus if I have music on. All my attention goes to that music. And part of it's like, if it's a song that I can study with, then I don't like it that much. Yeah. Because when those songs are like great and they just resonate with your inner landscape, then you just can't help but just direct your attention. Because this art is like very art, and you just need to pay attention to it. So I can't study with music on. Yeah. But okay, so when it comes to sounds, the sounds that people usually recreationally listen to is like music, and then podcasts are kind of two things. But there's a wide variety of different sounds, and they all have like different types of sounds that you can listen to, and they all satisfy different things. So there's music, which is one thing. I don't know. I think that satisfies the emotional part of you. But then there'll be times when I'm listening to podcasts, and I don't know. It kind of takes on, like, you know how when you're listening to music, there's like a deep satisfaction that you have.
Yeah.
And then like if you turn it off, you kind of feel empty for a little bit.
True.
It's like that level of deep satisfaction that you got. I don't know where it comes from.
It's just left.
It's gone. For me, to go on a quick tangent, I used to always when I was listening to music all the time, like a lot of people listen to music like 24/7. It's always on in the background, always in their earbuds. When you turn it off, you just feel empty, and it's like, ugh. But if you wait a little bit, or at least for me, if I wait like 20 seconds, I'll be fine. And I will no longer have the need to have any sound. But taking that back, so music has that level of deep satisfaction. But listening to things like conversations and podcasts, they also have kind of a deep satisfaction to them that's very similar to that deep satisfaction with music. So I'll be listening to a podcast and I'll just be listening to people talk. And I guess this happens more with talk show podcasts as opposed to podcasts that are like shows where it's all edited and they have transitions and going to different interviews and stuff. Like Radio Labs, kind of like that, where it's edited. This American Life, those are edited podcasts. I mean the ones where it's people talking, like
just raw and
kind of like Joe Rogan, David So's Genius Brain,
where you just talk.
Yeah, and those have like a deep satisfaction to listen. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just like the part of your brain that's social, that likes hearing social. So music is for the pattern part of your brain and that deep satisfaction pattern and art appreciation and emotions. But when you're listening to conversation, that social part of your brain is just sad. You just get this deep, I don't know, maybe it's serotonin being released. And then when you turn it off, it's not just, oh shoot, what were they going to say next? It's like, I feel empty because I don't feel like I'm when you're listening to podcasts, you feel like you're connecting with these people. Yeah. You're not, but you can use it. I mean, I guess you are. You're not really connecting with them, like talking to someone like we are now.
Yeah, but you feel that connection.
Yeah, it's like a supplement.
I think with human brains are interesting because I feel like we're very driven by solutions. We're always thinking of solutions. So when I think of music, like sometimes, in the blues and jazz and stuff, there's always that chord that's a little bit off. So the next chord you do is a resolution tone that completely resolves. Yeah, I definitely understand. Like the A7, exactly.
You go back to that major.
Exactly. So I think the same thing happens with podcasts. Like that discourse creates like a whole new variety, a whole new world of ideas that they created. And then rounding out the podcast, they begin to focus on an idea or a reflection or an application or something. And that kind of completes it for you. But like if you just pause it randomly in the middle, it's just gonna be like, what happened to my world?
You feel, you just...
You just oh, I almost finished the book. Let me just close it and throw it away for it quick.
We are solution driven. Most definitely. Let me just hop back real quick before we go off. The other types of sounds that I listen to, aside from music and podcasts, I listen to like brown noise, white noise, where it's just like, brown noise is the same thing, but lower pitch, just because I like lower pitches.
Yeah.
A lot of times I need like some background noise, but I don't want to listen to music. I don't want to listen to a podcast. I literally just need noise. I just need, I sleep with that. I just go to sleep so much easier. I don't know what it is for me that I like. I don't know what part of my brain that satisfies, but I don't know, it just tunes out everything. Like you just feel like, it's like a warm blanket from your brain. You just everything just fades away and all you have is static.
You consider yourself a social person, right? Would you consider yourself social?
No, actually, I wouldn't consider myself social.
Oh, wait, we talked about this. You're not the biggest fan of the idea of people.
Yeah, I don't know. People, it's just not as some people are interested in people. I'm trying to think of something that I'm interested in that I just like to learn about just because. I think I'm pretty interested in physics. I generally read about technical processes, physics. I can just get lost in Wikipedia reading about shapes and geometry. It's just interesting stuff to see. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to people, I'm not particularly, unless you're an interesting person, like someone who I wouldn't say interesting person, but unless you're a person that I find particularly interesting, then I'm not really eager to talk to you. I don't find people by default to be something I want to learn more about.
I understand that. I mean,
you seem the opposite. Just from what I've seen, from that first, you come into the room first time, I don't know you, you can already tell. Like, this dude likes talking to people.
Yeah, exactly. Because I feel it all depends on your mindset and how you approach people, how you view people in general. Because I feel like, would you say that the people that you find particularly interested, that you're interested in talking to, you find value from what you conversate with them? You find value?
Not necessarily it's more like the way that they behave and the way they carry themselves. They have something that I want in myself. And then from that standpoint, it becomes like, this goes back to like me and reading, my reading styles. Like, you like reading things that are descriptive, but not so much things that are like adjectives.
Yeah.
Describe, versus I like reading things that just give me straight information that I can use. Like, I can't pay attention to things that are like stories where it's descriptive and, the fairy tale road out. Like, it doesn't register. But when you just tell me just straight up, like, this dude went here for this reason and he did this and this is what you can learn from that. I pick up on so much because it feels like information that I can use. It's the same thing with people.
Yeah.
People who I find the most interesting is like, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you go about this situation, or the way you talk about this, you have something that I myself wish I had. And that makes you interesting to me, because then it's not so much interested in the person, it's interested in something that the person has and how can I use that to better myself.
Okay. So first of all, backtracking. It's funny because when you read, like, you can read for different reasons. So like, if I'm reading for enjoyment, that's when I really love the descriptive reading with all the adjectives. And like, I especially love violent books about wars and fights and battles and stuff, like Lord of the Rings, Hobbits and stuff. Like, it lets my imagination run wild, because yes, it's kind of drab in comparison to like a real life vision of it, but still I can let my imagination run wild and I can create a whole fight scene in my head. But if I'm listening for just idealisms and theories and stuff, I would agree that the straightforward path is the way to go. And shoot, what were we saying before? Oh, people. Yeah, so I think with people, the way I view it is, indeed you can learn from them, but from the people that you don't see something in them, there's something you can learn from them too, as in what not to do. Because I feel like we're very good at choosing one-sided ways, and we usually need a second opinion, outside perspective, to learn about yourself and others. So when I'll notice someone, and sure, I may not like the way they do something, or they might not be the most interesting, but there's definitely something I can learn from them. I think regardless of who it is, because I don't think that people here can be just cut shit out the box, normal, like average, person. Like, each person is unique. So I mean, there's a unique thing you can learn from each person. And though it's hard to figure out because a lot of people are similar, there's billions and billions of us on this earth, but that also means there's billions and billions of reasons and ways we can improve ourselves. But it's not billions and billions of relevant things. You walk into a library, it's clear and apparent that every single one of those books has different information. The difficulty is, which one of these books has information that I want? Well, first of all, what do I want? I think the number one struggle that people face, I wouldn't say the human struggle, because the human struggle and a human's struggle are different. But the number one struggle for a particular human is just knowing what you want. It's different trying to figure out how to do something versus what to do. I think that figuring out what you want to do I feel like that's the number one challenge. That's true. Because once you figure it out, the process and thinking through the methodology isn't as hard. But if you have no idea what you're looking for, how else you can't do anything. Like how are you supposed to go on a journey if you have no destination? It's one thing to be like, okay, well, how are we going to get past those mountains? How are we going to get across this river? Mm-hmm. It's another thing, like, I'm stuck here. Not only do I know how I'm going to do anything, I don't even know where I want to go. Like, that is the worst position to be in. Like, Mr. Smith always talks about how, or I guess he doesn't always talk about it, but he'll be like, everyone's a genius. Everyone has this. It's just different things that people are genius at. I'm like, I don't agree. I think that there are different types of genius. Mm-hmm. I don't think that everyone is a genius.
I think that there's definitely people out there where you just don't have anything that you're interested in, and there's just not anything that you're great at. I think a lot of people are just stuck where it's like, you're kind of just mediocre. Like, I'm not like, oh, you're mediocre, you're trash. But it's like, you look at yourself and it's like, there's nothing I've loved doing aside from things that are just enjoyable, like eating and sleeping. Mm-hmm. There's no productive thing that I've loved doing so much. I just want to wake up and do it again. And I want to do this. And there's nothing I'm particularly godly at. Like, it's just nothing there. I think there's definitely people who are not exceptionally talented in anything.
Would you say that represents most, like think of a bell curve, like there's a whole lot of people who are very little. Would you say, what would that top of the bell curve be?
I don't know.
Because I assume all the way at the top would be like Newman, Einstein, people who are geniuses, multifaceted geniuses. Yeah. On the other side would be like literally good at nothing and just kind of.
Yeah, you're just there. You're not.
So I assume the middle would be like particularly good at one thing, or loves doing like maybe one thing, possibly a genius at one thing.
I don't even know that. I don't even know that. I don't think that people. I think it's rare to be a genius at anything.
That's true.
I think that.
That's what makes it so important to say it's a genius.
Yeah, most people are just okay at doing any task they're given. There's nothing that they particularly love. Like you read about, or I guess I don't read, but like all these people that are out there that do great things, like great musicians, great athletes, Tiger Woods, Wiz Khalifa. A lot of them, what they have in common is that they started really young.
Yeah.
I was literally just listening this morning, actually. Not this morning like I woke up early, this morning when I stayed up late.
Yeah.
I was listening to Joe Rogan and Wiz Khalifa, their podcast, and Wiz Khalifa was talking about how he's wanted to be a rapper since he was in 3rd grade.
Dang.
He started recording in the studio when he's 15. He's like 32 now.
17.
So he's been on that. He is a rapper prodigy. He's been doing that for the longest time. He wants to do that. So it's like, for him, he knows what he wants to do because he loves it exceptionally. Mm-hmm. Even if Wiz Khalifa was trash from the start at rapping, he didn't say he was trash, but he said, like, it's not that I'm a god at rapping. It's not like I had just magical talent or whatever. I just do this a lot. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm in the studio every day. I love being in the studio. That's my hobby. That's what I do. I do it all the time. I'm there all the time. So I feel like that is the position that a lot of people want to be in, where you love something so much that you become a genius at it because you do it so much. What happens when you don't love anything? I think about it, every possible task that you could do in the world, none of them I love. Like, what do you do when you're in that position? How do you create that pressure? I think everything is driven by, well, I wouldn't say everything, but a lot of things are driven by pressure, I think. Movement is driven by pressure, physical movement, but I think that also psychological movement and wanting to be places is driven by pressure. So if you look at relationships, you can get some very strong, quick-forming, intense relationships from having very, very strong pressures that push people into that, where you come from heavy oppression, you come from abuse or whatever, and finally somebody gives you a sense of love, a sense of belonging, a sense of value that you have been looking for. It's that pressure. It's the difference between this extremely negative and this high positive. So then you have extraordinary action. I think that's how you get a lot of extraordinary, when you get prodigies because they came from this situation, they had this really going on, they have a pressure that moves you here. But what happens when you're just neutral? You don't really have anything super bad about your life and any super good place to go or anything. There's no pressure, there's no movement because there's no contrast. What do you do? How do you create conflict in your life that will drive you to have to do something?
That's a really good question because, that's a loaded question. Yeah, I don't think it's very pragmatically. It's not going to be a thing for most people because if you can't find something.
What do you mean by pragmatic?
Like realistically, if we're being realistic about this, if there's something you can't find anything that you love, it's going to be extremely difficult for you in general to find a passion. And passion is kind of what drives us. A passion for learning. That's what makes us love learning. And passion for you love building, love putting stuff together. You put together these mic stands, you put together the camera stand. Like that's your thing, and you get up and do that every day. I really like but if you got up and you're like, I guess that's kind of where I was like before high school. Actually, I was quite often there, and I think, I mean, yeah, I can do math. I can memorize French. I can do science. Like, that's cool and all. I suck at art. I can't draw for my life. But, you know, I'm things I'm proficient at. But there's nothing that really drove me. I think that pushing yourself out your comfort zone. Because the thing is, you can't really claim that you don't have a passion for anything if you haven't tried everything.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah, because I didn't realize I loved talking to people until I got into high school and made myself start talking to people, because I had my friend group in middle school. I was in a K through 8 school where we grew up and we learned to speak French. And so in each class, there was only 60 of us. There was only 60. So it was basically like you grew up in a little family over 9 years. I mean, you talk to your family. That's what you do. But once you enter into a new school that's over 2,000 people now, you're like, what the heck do I do now? So then trying to figure yourself out, you're like, okay, now suddenly there's cliques, there's groups of people that you got to stick with. There's the athletic people, there's the nerdy people, there's the step people who I eventually found my group with, you know. And I realized, why choose one? Why can't I be all of them?
Just talk to a lot of people.
Exactly. And so that's from talking to so many people, that's where I realized that's what I like doing. I love talking to people. I love figuring people out and knowing what makes them happy, what makes them tick. How do you support them? Because everyone's different. And yeah, some people may not have the good passion, may not have a passion at all. But at the end of the day, they have emotions, they have a skill set that you can work with and improve their lives with. And sometimes I don't think there's... So to get to that point, if you haven't found your passion, you can't really say you have a passion. So I think that's where most of the people in the world right now are stuck, is that they haven't found that passion. And I wouldn't say, I think it's going to be kind of difficult for you to not have a passion, because even though there's billions of us, I feel like we all have a passion for something.
I don't know.
It's a
I think it's
concept.
I think of it like chemicals. There's so many different chemicals out there.
Yeah.
Not every one of those chemicals has an application. Hypothetically, maybe this particular chemical has some use somewhere. 150 years from now, when they're building energy factories on Europa or whatever, this chemic's crucial for this reactor.
You're gonna need californium for some reason.
Yeah, exactly. Like these weird elements or something that like we don't. So what do you use this for? Maybe one day there'll be something that you need this for. Doesn't mean it has a use now.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with, I think it could be the same thing with people, where hypothetically, if you were born 2,000 years in the past and there was some little social circle and they were doing something, if you were born there and you were born in that city, Mesopotamia or whatever.
And you would have thrived.
You would have thrived. You would have found your passion. But you got born 2,000 years too late.
Yeah, you were born in 2019, where they don't care about that.
They don't care about that. Yeah, now that I'm doing the math, Mesopotamia in 2,000 years ago is not at all correct. But regardless, the concept still stands.
Yeah.
Maybe you were born, maybe your passion is like making porcelain in ancient China, and you were born Texas in 2002. Like, yeah, you might have had a passion, yeah. If you were to isolate your soul and then you were to pull up, every moment in the universe, then you would have a match. You could say, okay, this soul from here matches here. But you can't do that. You're stuck in this moment, in this time, in this place. So you don't have a passion. You have one hypothetically on the broad scale, but you don't have one.
Yeah, so there's a difference between potential and passion. That's another thing. And the thing is, that's what's so sad is that person, like, you can do pretty well actually making and selling porcelain nowadays. It's not like extremely like of affluent business, but I mean, like, the thing is, how are they ever gonna know they're good?
Yeah, like, how are you gonna get there? And then at the same time, like, porcelain now wasn't the same as engineering porcelain in ancient China. Like, it's different things. One is like toilet bowls, and the other one is like art, and the other one. And I mean, I guess maybe you could still try, but like you wouldn't even know how to do it, and it just wouldn't be the same. Like it would not be the same passion. So I feel like a lot of people might be like that, where maybe not to that extent, because that's like a really far thing, but the same concept where you have a passion, but you're never gonna find it because you were not born in the right place. You were born at the wrong time. You're just not you, and whatever your brain, I don't know how people get the way they are. Like there's some things that are just innate personality differences. Like where I've heard that those come from like your first moments when you're born, maybe even before that. You come out the womb, right? You squeeze out, you tear your mother in half. Then everything that you see and hear and the things that come in, those things shape your personality in some way, shape, or form. If you come out and the room you were born in was
orange.
It was orange, right? You were born in an orange room. Now you have an orange personality. You were born in the blue room, you came out. But you were born, it was 70 degrees? Was it 90 degrees? Was it 50 degrees? Were you born on this day, air pressure this? You don't know, because it could even be things that you don't even sense. There's so much out there that we don't sense. And we assume that it has no effect on us because we can't sense it. But we know that's not true. You look at like radiation. Radiation most definitely affects us quite a bit. We can't sense it. We don't have senses that can sense, or I guess to be specific, we can't sense high frequency radiation or extremely low frequency radiation. But high frequency radiation most definitely has an effect on us. Gamma rays,
for sure.
X-rays. If you didn't have it, like for the longest time in human history, nobody knew what X-rays were. But most definitely, if you were chilling out around uranium and it's just weird stuff starts happening to you, then it's like, you don't know what's going on. You don't know. So it could be like that, but for so many other things that we can't even sense with our tools, because our tools are just an extension of ourselves. That's what essentially they are. So when we create something that can detect X-rays or those those meter things that they use to find like radiation, they're cool. Like, do they make that noise? I feel like they make that noise. They make like a clicking noise, and you find
like echolocation, like a bat.
You know, like they don't echolocate, but instead of being like beep 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 beep, they make like clicking noises. It's like
And would that be like the frequency?
No, that's just the noise that the device makes. Like having seen videos of like radiation hunters, I don't know. I don't know. Whatever the case, we've made tools that are an extension of ourselves. When we make things that can sense infrared or we can sense gamma rays, we're expanding our field of sight, but we're still limited. Maybe as humans, we can only make things that can sense this. Naturally, we can sense this. Artificially, we can sense this. But the whole universe is the size of this building. So there's all this stuff out there that might affect us that we can't even sense. So how do you know like personality could come from something like this? Maybe when you're born, there's some kind of like frequency wave or something somewhere, and it's most definitely affecting you. And if you could sense it, you could be like, oh, that kid's gonna be an extrovert. That kid's definitely gonna be an introvert. I can just see it. Like those waves coming from over there are hitting him like this. That kid's gonna grow up and he's gonna like candy, or he's gonna have a sweet tooth, or whatever.
You know, the more I think about it, like, it's how every little thing affects us, because humans are so fragile.
I know we are so.
Because even thinking of waves, I automatically thought of sound. And I was watching Game Theory, you know, with Matt Pat. You know, he talks about games and realistic. And he's talking about Mortal Kombat and the idea of like a screaming sonic wave being able to blow up your head. And you just think about it, if you get the right frequency and it's loud enough, you can easily pop someone's head off. Right. You can literally explode their head. Someone's head can literally explode. Or you could just fry their brain if you have a high enough frequency. And the thing is, like, if you can do that, what's to say it didn't affect the brain chemistry in general?
That's a good point. Yeah, the sound waves can blow up your head when they're extreme. Who's to say that they can't, to a lesser extent?
Like, ultra, one little thing. One thing right there.
That's a good point, actually. Because there's got to be units in your brain that resonate at different frequencies. So, like, you know how you play sounds and they resonate at a frequency.
whatever.
Who's to say that it doesn't do that to smaller units of your brain on a smaller scale? And you resonate at this frequency, and this part of your brain starts woo, and that's why you have anxiety or whatever. Like,
I was watching this video of this neurologist. I forget what it was called. Was it
Could you move over the mic?
Yeah. So something drone. What was it called? The point is what they're trying to do is they're trying to create an electronic mapping of the entire brain, all the neural networks connecting, and mapping the entire thing.
Need that?
They're using electron microscopes in order.
How do you map, like, not to interrupt, but like how do you map something that complicated? Like how do you present that information in a way that we can deal with?
Well, the thing is they're trying to collect this massive and this is like billions, trillions of neural networks in between each one, and they're trying to get it into one computer. And the thing is, one, will that even work? Does that even compute?
Yeah.
And the second part is, how can we interpret that? Because yes, you can finally map a brain, but like, what are you mapping? Like, are you mapping memories? Are you just mapping basic function? Because for all you know, that could not even cover the range of emotions that we experience. It could not, because for all we know, it could be chemicals. And it's actually crazy to think that we set ourselves on these great passions and stuff, but like, how much do we know ourselves, you know?
I think I was just thinking about this this morning. Or not this morning.
Early.
Yeah.
Last night, this morning.
I said this morning twice, like I was putting F in. Whatever the case, I was thinking about introspection versus extrospection. I don't know if that's, I've heard introspection, extrospection. You know what I mean, though.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I was thinking about we love to talk about how big the universe is and how, wow, we're so small and everything. But functionally, the universe isn't that big. Like, outer space isn't that big functionally as far as how humans interact with it. If you were to chart the density of useful interaction, like if you were to chart the density of things that you interact with, or if you were to chart the how much people would actually interact with and use any particular item somewhere, then the planet is so much bigger than the rest of the space. Yeah. Sure, you have, trillion billion stars, and if you zoom in on that dark spot, then you'll just see a bunch of more galaxies. But functionally, what are we going to do with that? We look at all these stars. Do we have names for every single one? Like names, not numbers, not, A, X, Y, B, whatever.
Exactly.
Like legitimate names.
Like Beetlejuice. Like, are we ever going to go to Beetlejuice?
No, we're never not. It's there. It's cool. But functionally, that whole nebula over there, functionally is smaller than a mug. Any given mug is functionally could be larger than that nebula, because it's just going to interact with it so much more. You're going to have so many more connections. So I think as far as how large the universe is, we look at it from a spatial standpoint. But from pretty much any other standpoint, the universe is actually it's, I wouldn't say it's minuscule, but it's not out there. It's in here. And it goes into extrospection versus introspection. We love to look out and see the outer universe, but you can turn the scale around and you can look down and you can see the universe. There's
a whole treasure trove there.
I think that's, I personally think that that's more useful, because that's something everyone has their own inner universe. Not everyone's going to space travel. Most people aren't. We're not there yet. It's not 3015.
Are you? I'm not.
I'm not in space travel.
I'm never going to do that.
I
think
there's this
introspection is I feel it's the most important thing, because I think bringing everything around full circle here is that we talked a lot about being able to learn from stuff, and you can't really learn from stuff if you never focus on yourself.
Yeah, it's about knowing yourself.
Exactly.
And knowing what you want. That's the most important thing that you can do as a human. If you were to just pop off, you're a new human. Not a baby, because babies can't talk. But you're a new human, and I can talk to you, and you're like, okay, I'm trying this new human thing out. What should I do? How does this work? I got all these. the most important thing that you can do is know yourself. By expansion, I say the most important thing that anyone can do, if you don't know what you should do at any given moment, you're sitting around in the lobby, or maybe you're sitting at home and you're like, what am I gonna do with my life? If you don't know what to do at any given moment, the most important thing to do is educate yourself on things that are relevant to you. Anything that you think is going to affect you, that's relevant to you. This includes yourself, your internal landscape, what you like, what you don't like, how you think. Or, there's this new restaurant that popped up in town and it looks kind of interesting. Anything that's related to you, it's never hurtful and it's never a waste of time to educate yourself on things that are relevant. Now, maybe you don't need to be learning like calculus or learning about like Bose-Einstein condensate or whatever, like irrelevant things. You don't need to know about that. That's why I say things that are relevant to you. It's never a waste of your time to educate, because then you just know things better. You can make decisions.
Especially when it comes to yourself.
Yeah.
That's the most time.
Know yourself as much as you take time to just, okay, what do I like? Just explore the concept
Yeah, like those periods where, I love talking to everyone, but those periods where I just don't talk to anyone. I'm literally just doing nothing but focusing on myself. And I think that's what sometimes people see it, sometimes people don't, but I'm very in tune with myself. I know exactly what I'm talking about when I say things. I say things very deliberately. And it's because I know myself, I know my intentions when I speak, I know what my motives are when I ask for something. So it's just, once you become in tune with yourself, your application towards the outside world becomes that much more versatile, and you can function along in the world that much better.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen you trip on your words. Like, not trip as in stutter, but I don't think you've ever been unable to communicate what you want to say or communicate something that you don't mean, that didn't represent. Like, you're very good at taking what is on your inside and then turning it onto an outside. Like, crossing the barrier between this is how I feel, this is how I see the world on the inside, this is what I want to present to the world, how can I get that across?
Yeah, and
I'm like going through my mind and like thinking of all the things I've seen you do. I don't know, you're you, so of course you know what you're doing, but from what I've seen, it doesn't seem like you've like tripped on your words, or you've like, oh shoot, maybe that wasn't the best way to put it. No, I didn't mean it like that, or like I guess so. You seem.
Well, yeah, the thing is, like, me personally, I consider myself pretty good really good at that. But the thing is, it's a skill. It's a skill. You can learn it. I can learn it. You can learn it. Anybody can learn it. But the thing is, you have to take the time, and that requires introspection, where every skill requires practice. You play the cello, you have to practice your bowing. If you do a lot of building, you have to do a lot of working with your hands. But at the end of the day, you have to do something to improve it. Let's just check the time real quick. Was it 35? Oh shoot, we got 10 minutes to get downstairs.
We do. Okay. Yeah, I think introspection is extremely important. And it's something that everyone can do. Not everybody can go out and explore the world, but you're always you, and you can always do that.
Exactly.
I hate that we have to wrap up so soon, because I have so many things that I want to talk about and cover. One thing though that I have noticed is that when it comes to people talking, people have different ways of like some people have no real noticeable way of talking. Like, it just seems very normal. And I don't mean accent. I think there's your accent, there's your voice, and then there's your way of talking. So your voice is like, that represents the long history of who you are in essence. Like, you can't really change your voice a whole lot.
Yeah, like when you hear a voice with presence, you know it's a voice with presence.
I don't even mean voices in some, because that's more way of talking. Like, voices in like your pitch and like a voice.
Your literal voice.
Your literal voice.
Okay.
Is, then there's your accent, which everyone knows an accent is. That's like smaller, where you're from and all
cultural.
That. But then your way of talking, like the way that you talk, literally the way that you talk, not the word choice, but the way that you use intonation and pacing and rhythm and all those different things. You have a style of talking, and it doesn't always come out. Like, sometimes you just talk and it just seems like a completely neutral way of talking. But then sometimes we'll be talking and it's like a very distinct, like, even if it wasn't your voice. It was like a robot synthesizer, and it had no accent, no voice, and it was just neutral, but it had that style of talking. I'd be like, that kind of sounds like Jonathan. Just the way the rises, the stops, the pauses. All other people have that too. Like in the cohort, I'll notice, like, oh, you have a very distinct way of talking. Like the way that you pause after certain words, and the way you put emphasis on certain words, and the way that people talk is like the way that they carry their own thoughts. The way that you carry your thoughts is reflected in the way they. So from the way that you talk, I can tell that like you don't like to be very sure about what you're saying. Everything that you, or I'm not talking about you specifically.
Yeah.
And when I'm saying you, but like the way this person talks, they are not so much that they're insecure, but they're not like sure. They're not pushing. Or versus the way that this person talks, the way
very
they
matter
talk
of fact.
is like, matter of fact. Or they talk like everything's a joke. Even when they're not joking, whenever they talk, there's just an underlying tone of what I'm saying is comedic. What I'm saying is like, I don't know. And I've just recently realized that people have this, and I'm trying to think of like, what is my own style of talking?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
It just shows how complex communication is.
Yeah, communication, oh my God.
It's ridiculous because that's just voice. And then we don't haven't talked about body language, me being here.
I know, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, what's good?
I can see. I could see why you like the game of talking to people.
Yes.
Because like you said,
not to say people are games, but like it's good to learn.
I remember what you said earlier about like people are like the ultimate like thing to interact with, because like there's no way to know what something is like, or there's no way to know what someone is like except for talking to them. There's no like, you can't look. There's no cheating. Every other physical object you can kind of know it by like looking it up or looking inside or whatever. Like,
there's no encyclopedia for people yet.
Yeah, there's literally no physical representation of their inner landscape. You can only guess as to what it is through things.
And the best part is it's ever changing as well.
I know, everything
ever changing.
Not only is everyone different, everyone changes constantly.
Yes.
So it's like if you like people and you naturally like people, it seems like the ultimate
foundation of satisfaction. Because like you can never complete it. You can never complete humanity.
Interest in the human consciousness.
Yes.
Not just your own, but in others too. Mm-hmm. Wild. I don't know. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. I think it's a good note to end on.
I think that is a good note to end on.
Because we do actually have to go to class.
We definitely do.
We have a math final,
We do, yeah. I think that's what to do. But yes, thank you. This has been the podcast.
Yeah, we'll find a name for it eventually, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. But I've enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. This man Kymasi, you'll never be anybody like him. I'm telling you.
Except for me.
We'll see you on, I don't know when. Maybe there's another episode. Maybe it's the only one. You never know. I hope there's another one, though.
I hope so.
So, yeah, this has been really productive. But
Bye.
Bye.